I was formulating my views, before the next election, I'd sort of like sit down with the manifestos of all the major parties and sort of decide which ones sort of fit my own personal beliefs.
There's no exact party that I'm 100% like agreeing with, and I find it that I think I've made the decision that instead of like focusing on a party, because I think a lot of people put too much in their party and they could change their views and still go with their party, I would rather look at the manifestos and look at what they're actually saying and look who the leader is and just put my views on that instead of like conforming to like a label.
I get my sort of news from online. I go to BBC a lot and social media. I follow quite a lot of political Twitter accounts and MPs and things like that.
But I also get a lot of information from talking to people. And I solidify my opinions through talking to people. I can read news articles, but it's sort of when I feed them back in a conversation that I feel like I understand my own perspective.
Obviously, because the statistic going around that I saw in the media was that EU makes 75% of our laws. I bought into the statistic, and I think that a vote to leave the European Union would have enabled us to be a more independent country.
What swayed me to vote Leave was the promise of £350 million funding to the NHS, but straight after Leave was voted, Nigel Farage stated that it was a mistake, and that just completely put me off and just, to be honest, made me not trust politicians nowadays.
I also look at social media a lot to get my political views, like Twitter or the news, and other young people's views, which can have can influence me quite a lot, actually.
My source for political news is BBC News. I mean, I go with it because, you know, they try to be quite impartial about things and they're quite concise as well.
I think I actually get it more from one of my friends because we have such lively discussions and we think alike, we have quite similar minds. I do perhaps get a bit from my parents. I do look online at trusted sources, so definitely like BBC.
Like I've learned about it through social media, flyers that come through the door, because like say if a flyer comes through the door before my mum takes it, I'm like, okay, look at that for a minute.
I tend to split my social media into bits. Facebook is like the people I know, and so is like Instagram and stuff. But Twitter is more almost like my newspaper really. So I'll follow almost anything and everything. That comes from CNN, The Times, The Guardian, The Economist, like almost everything. And I try to stay, or to have as many different, like I never like reading one story from one newspaper.
I definitely saw a lot of it, particularly like on Facebook. A lot of my friends were like commenting about it all, and I always I use social media a lot, but I never really post my views or anything on it. I just keep that to like myself, and I talk to my friends about it.
Social media, you know, the news, BBC News at 10. I definitely get information from there, but I don't think I get my views from them. I get my views from conversations with different people I have. Having a 5-minute conversation with someone, whereas having like a half an hour conversation with someone will definitely impact the way I feel about certain issues.
I'm saying you need to look at different media sources, not mainstream media. There's a lot of alternate media sources, that's where I've looked. I think my dad, a lot of my political views have come through him, but then I've gone on like the other media sources, and that's kind of all come together to form it.
I've been very vocal on Twitter, I've signed the petition to redo the referendum that was going around.
A lot of my engagement was sort of via social media. There is a page on Facebook called UK Youth Parliament Past and Present. There was a lot of debate on there.
I had a friend who tweeted something about how a lot of people were being voting based on immigration, and they thought that Brexit could change immigration, and she was like against it and said was like addressing the issue, and lots of people were getting angry about that.
I tend to take my kind of political views from what I read, what I get on the internet, what I kind of read, what I get from official sources, but then it also can be developed from talking to people as well.
Because obviously I'm a politically active young person. I do get my views off you know, other young people. Also, the media has a big part. When I log into Facebook every day and Twitter, I see articles from The Independent, you know, the Daily Mail, like, loads of different news outlets that kind of give their different views.
I get a lot of my views probably from my parents.
Probably family. They kind of influence me a lot into not what to think, but what they think, and then I kind of look and I think, oh, maybe that is the right way to think.
I think I've inherited mine particularly from my parents.
I'd say anyone would get their political views from like the way they've grown up. So personally with my family, especially my dad, I get them mainly from like his opinions. I guess I'm kind of based off him because I've grown up.
When I first got into it, like, I think it was all my mum was just filtering through her, but then as I've started doing politics, I read The Guardian and stuff, I read on BBC News. I've tried to develop my own political view. It's still forming, obviously I think his view's a bit more developed than mine, but mine's still forming. But I reckon in 5 years time I could have a completely different opinion to what I have now, but at the moment it is kind of like a prototype or my mum's view 2.0 kind of thing.
Also, I think, I'm not going to lie, I think my family did contribute. My mum campaigned for Remain and was very, very strong on that, and I do think that probably had an impact.
I was talking to a friend and I spit out something my parents had said to me in support of the Conservative candidate, and she got really upset, and I was like, well, I don't... Okay, I guess I'll do some reading, but that's what my dad said.
I think it stirred a lot of debate in our friendship group as well about it did, yeah. Everyone's parents' views filtering down to their kids, and the kids being like, saying, I've got my own view now.
Originally, when I was really young, my views would have sort of come from just what I'd heard in the news and probably what my parents were saying. But as I sort of got older and got more interested in politics and more involved, it came from sort of the people around me.